Hello, David. A warm welcome to you.
Well, hello, and it's such a pleasure to be here.
Thanks. I really appreciate you coming in on Halloween, well, and doing everything else. And you're in my part. I'm never in anybody else's, but you're in my part of the country, which I love that. David. What you do, what this whole thing is I feel so fascinating. I don't know. So I'm going to just come right out. What is DreamWork?
Well, I'll go back a few years. In 1987, my family was living in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I was commuting from San Diego because I had a business here. And my wife, Linda, met a man. His name was Alvaro Lopez Waterman, a PhD in psychology, who had been studying the sleeping dream state since about 1975. And he had found a way to access what we called inner wisdom, or we might call it God or spirit or higher consciousness, and to be able to ask questions and receive perfect guidance in a dream through a tool that he called dream assignments. And a dream assignment was basically a simple letter that was written to inner wisdom asking for guidance on a specific question. So over a period of then about 13 years, he had done thousands of dream assignments, recorded thousands of pages of basically data, research that he had recorded on what was really happening in the sleeping dream state and how do we access inner wisdom and get the guidance that's always there for us. And then how do we align with that guidance and make it so it's practical and something we could use in our everyday life.
Right. So this is not like lucid dreaming, correct?
Well, it's not like lucid dreaming, but lucid dreaming can be part of it. For example, I've written a little book that is sort of a translation of his more technical information around the sleeping dream state called DreamWork, Dream Interpretation. And in that book, I talk about a lucid dream, but not only a lucid dream, but a dream we call a power dream, where we actually we're awake in our sleeping dream, but we actually make changes to that dream. And in so doing, we accelerate the changes that we experience in our waking life. So, yes, there is a part of it that is associated with lucid dreaming or power dreaming, but for the most part, this is just, the regular sleeping dream state.
Right. Well, David, how did you become a teacher of DreamWork? Or how did you become one? For anybody else who wanted to share.
Well, when I looked at Alvaro's data, he's one of the most brilliant guys I've ever met. And at first I thought, well, this just can't be true. But then it was funny. I said, I'd be interested in learning more. And so he handed me 500 pages of mostly technical information. He said, well, read this and let me know what you think. And so I did, and I came back. I was even more intrigued. So I said, well, I would like to learn this. And so he said, well, it won't be easy, and it's going to be time-consuming, and it's going to cost you some money. But if you're willing to do all that, I would be willing to teach you. So I basically worked with him for 6 years and mastered it at some level. And my deal with him was that I would take this mostly technical information that had been provided to him by inner wisdom and translate it into something that everyday dreamers could use. So at the end of 6 years, I had sort of mastered it. So I went about doing that translation. And then about 5 years ago, I got this message, a very powerful dream that said it was time to take DreamWork into the world in a significant and meaningful way. And so for the last almost 5 years now, I've been getting everything together so that we could take it out into the world in a significant and meaningful way. Actually, in a way that could be a catalyst for raising human consciousness globally.
Yeah, I like that. I read that. I was reading that, and that's exactly, I think, why the Mayans let us survive, so we can do this work, of all sorts, so we can collectively come into the picture. I read, David, that you were a former. It's interesting. A lot of people lately on as guests, former, corporate CEO, successful. How did you find your way to this calling of? I mean, I don't think you were doing dream stuff as a CEO. I don't know. But I'm just curious.
Well, I had my own company, and we were about a $10 million company, and we were profitable, and I had a couple hundred employees. And I was still relatively young. I think I was, I don't know, in my early 30s and even maybe late 20s when things were going, very well on the business side of things. But I had a spiritual experience in 1980, and it completely changed me in a matter of minutes. From what I would call a kind of a hard-charging, I was filling in some of these gaps in my life with what I would call fast living and that sort of thing. But I also had this kind of an empty part of me too. I thought once you had it all, the money and the beautiful wife and the kids and the house and all that stuff, that we would be happy. But in my case, that wasn't necessarily true. So I started filling in the gaps with, fast living and drinking and too much, using drugs, that sort of thing. But the spiritual experience, I saw that there was just so much more to life than I had known. So I quit the alcohol and the drugs that day and started putting my marriage back together and became what I would call a seeker. And I had the resources that I could do pretty much what I wanted to do. And so we did everything. I read every book and went to every power place and went pyramids and mountains and rivers and caves and ashrams and teepees and you name it. And then at some point I realized, I'm not so sure that what I really need or what I'm really seeking is out there, even though I felt like we've made a lot of progress. And so I started, doing a lot more inner work, probably about 8 or 10 years into this sort of a seeking thing. And this was about the time DreamWork came into my life, and I started looking at, being able to use DreamWork both for my spiritual practice and in sharing it with other people. It's a way to accelerate them on their spiritual paths.
Yeah, I loved your journey. Not that I wish it upon anybody else, but that's truly, I identify with this very authentic way to find what you're supposed to do here, really. But, I noticed that, I'm going to ask you a couple other things, but I did notice that this interview I wanted to do, because it does go out to people that are also in the field of coaches, as well as, so you can help people that are already like someone like me or something that wants to take my, consulting or to a step further to help with the dream, people in the dreams, correct? It's.
Yeah, matter of fact, it's that's the great thing about dream work is, we all dream, and dreaming transcends culture and language and countries and time and space and all sorts of things. And so there is this opportunity, I feel, for people that are taking, I would say, are in this sort of a serving type of modality for their work in the world, whether it's coaches or counselors or therapists or teachers or whatever. And dream work is perfect for mixing and matching with whatever it is whatever the gifts are that people are taking into the world. Dream work can easily sort of mesh in there. Imagine as a coach, for instance, that you had a tool whereby you could have your client do a dream assignment and ask a question, maybe even a very profound question, and get perfect guidance in a dream. And that you, as a coach, had that as a starting point for your coaching of that particular client. For me, it's just like, wow. I mean, it's, rather than guessing or wondering and that sort of thing, go to the source and ask the source what it is that, what is the guidance that's really coming forth for the client, and then as the coach, looking at how you can align with that guidance with your client.
That's fantastic. I like that. I like that quite a bit because, some people will say, do you do dream analysis or do you do this or that? But what you're bringing up is quite wonderful and actually intuitively friendly in order to learn about how to do this if you are in the, the service business, as you said. What are some of the ways What are some of the ways you have used DreamWork in your personal life and in your work life? I guess we can.
Well, personal life, Linda and I really haven't made really major decisions without doing dream assignments. I mean, here's a kind of an example. She was living in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and at the time, well, still today, I mean, we had 3 young children, and I was commuting from San Diego where I had my business. And so I would go over every week or two, but when I arrived, I was sort of the discipline and the entertainment. My time there, it really wasn't what I would call quality time with Linda and the kids. And so what I found after a period of time was that it was just wearing me out. I was working long hours in San Diego, and then I would go there, and the hours in some ways were even tougher there because we were, trying to get the family squared away and, handle all the problems and so forth that had cropped up during the week or 2 weeks and that sort of thing. So I realized that at one point that really I wasn't sure how much longer I could continue to do that. So I told Linda, I said, Linda, I think you have to come back to San Diego because, I can't continue to do this. I'm wearing myself out, and there's lots of things that are happening that aren't good. Plus, I really felt that the boys who were, they're living in that 10 and 12-year-old range where they needed their dad with them, all the time. And so, anyway, she had just leased a house for a year. She just put the kids in school. She had made friends there. I mean, she had a whole, network of things that were going on. And so she said, I can't move now, and I said, well, I think you have to. So anyway, long and short of it is, we did a dream assignment. And what Inner Wisdom said was not whether we should live in San Diego or Santa Fe. It was that the family should be together. And so that really meant moving back to San Diego because I couldn't move to Santa Fe. So Linda wasn't pleased with what Inner Wisdom had to tell us, and so she actually asked Alvaro if he would do another dream assignment with her, thinking maybe I had been a little prejudiced. But anyway, she got the same message, and so it was very, very difficult for her. But she has just learned, to really listen to what Inner Wisdom has to say, and to follow that guidance to the best of our ability. So we did. We packed up the kids and the dogs and all the stuff, and we moved back to San Diego. And in hindsight, Linda would say today it was absolutely the best thing that ever happened because there were a lot of things that probably would not have worked out real well if she had stayed there.
Right. I always look at things like that when that happens. I have a saying that goes, the things you think you don't need are the things you need the most. So you needed to get back to San Diego as a family. You talked about dream assignment, and perhaps no one knows what we're talking about. So what specifically is a dream assignment?
Well, it's a very simple letter that is written to Inner Wisdom or to whatever you want to call that higher power that lives in each and every one of us. And as a matter of fact, I'll just give you kind of the words that we recommend that you use. You would put the date on it, and then there's a mantra we recommend. The mantra we recommend is thank you, thank you, thank you, because we believe that gratitude has turned out to be really one of the most powerful blessings that we can express. And in this case, we're expressing it to Inner Wisdom. So a mantra, but you can use anything. And then it's dear Inner Wisdom, dear God, dear Spirit, dear whatever you want to call that part of yourself. And then you say, thank you for all you have done for me. If it is your will, please tell me in a dream tonight. And you ask your question. And then you say, I ask this so I can get closer to you. And then you say, thank you for all you have done for me, and you sign your name. So very, very simple, but that sets the dreamer's intent.
Yeah.
And the setting of the dreamer's intent, whether you do it in a little letter or whether you actually just close your eyes and breathe a little bit before you go to sleep, the setting of intent is really important because Inner Wisdom will listen to your intent and we'll answer whatever that question is. And normally the question should be whatever the biggest concern that you have in life is. So that the things that are keeping you up at night should be the questions that you ask about.
That makes a lot of sense. Instead of saying, "Oh, please, can I get this or that?" The intent is the most important thing. It's a
Yes.
bigger
Well,
picture.
inner wisdom will always answer the bigger question too.
Mm.
You might ask, what are the numbers in the lottery, or when am I going to get my red Ferrari, or something like that. And you'll get the answer back, something about, this is what you need to know about your need to, to stand out and in a crowd and to be a bigwig. Or this is what you need to know about your insecurities as opposed to when you're going to get your red Ferrari.
Right. So this is about really, so it would be about right before going into the sleeping state, the dream
Yeah.
assignment.
Yeah,
Is
not
that
only
correct?
I recommend in setting intent, you can write the letter, but then even if you write the letter, I recommend that you sit in bed or lie in bed in a comfortable position and then breathe a little bit. Maybe about 5 minutes of long rounded breaths, like you might use if you were meditating, that sort of thing, or doing yoga, and then just repeating your intent and your gratitude for inner wisdom, and then just go to sleep and away you go.
Okay, so you could do this before the act of actually going into the bed and we go to bed, but do we ever get to sleep? Some of us have a problem with that. But so I'm just asking for everybody else to understand. Writing a letter or doing a little meditation, and then hours could go by, and then you could decide to go into, say, reflect on it, and then go to sleep. So this would work in the daytime, though. Even if like a little bit of the meditation, couldn't you integrate it, the dream assignment, in the meditations while you're awake?
Oh, well, here's an interesting thing. This sort of programming or encoding, whereby inner wisdom tells us what we need to know about our biggest concerns in life, it's part of it's part of our DNA. Literally, the soul before it comes in basically is encoded with this ability to make this connection to inner wisdom every night when we sleep, and to get the information about what we need to know about whatever our biggest fears or concerns are in life. And if we align with the guidance of inner wisdom, we actually raise our consciousness. And so this is sort of the DNA of the mind, or the DNA of the human experience, this nighttime connection to inner wisdom, being given the guidance that we really need to solve our biggest issues or concerns in life, and then taking right action on those things, and in the process, raising our consciousness. So we all have it. It's part of the human experience. Actually, before we even come in, and the DreamWork is just really one methodology for tapping into that. But the messages that we get, whether we do dream assignments or not, they repeat all day long, and they can be heard in deep meditation or through intuitive hits during the day. So you can do DreamWork dream interpretation, or you can become a good meditator, or you can just start to be conscious of those intuitive hits that follow you during the day, telling you what you need to know about your greatest concern in life.
Yeah, I like how you put it in our DNA. I'm a big fan of Carl Jung. I mean, I love him. And he talks about a psychic. We're all born into it with a psychic inheritance. It's almost like in what you're talking about, the DNA. We're all come into this, or collectively connected with the psychic inheritance, and that what you're saying is very much similar with the DNA. And
it's like the soul. There's another part of DreamWork called character types, which describes how each of the 4 parts of the mind communicate with each other. And if you're a believer that our realities are created inside out, first in the mind and then in the outer world, then this character types actually are sort of the DNA of the human experience. And so they're created by the date, time, and place of birth. They correspond to the signs of the Western zodiac. And although they're not astrology, you might call them sort of inner astrology, but it's not about the cosmos and the energies that are coming from the position of the stars and that sort of thing. This is about how the different parts of the mind communicate with each other. So in essence, If you can understand that, you can understand why we are creating the specific realities that we experience, both good and not so good, in the outside world.
Right. So what are we didn't go through the three pillars. Did we? No. Are the three pillars of DreamWork?
Yeah, well, the first pillar is DreamWork, dream assignments, and dream interpretation. The second pillar is character types, which I just briefly described. And then the third pillar is conscious systems. And this methodology is a very systematic methodology. The DreamWork, the dream interpretation, the character types, that sort of thing. And being systematic is very powerful, because everything in the universe is made up of systems and subsystems. From the very largest features in the universe, like clusters of galaxies and large gaseous bodies and that sort of thing, all the way down to the atomic and subatomic level. You'll see that everything is made up of systems and subsystems. Well, everything in nature works perfectly, but when the human mind gets involved, things can go askew. And this is what we see in people, creating issues and problems in their lives. And what they don't realize is that they have created a system that they might not even know they did it, probably don't know that they created this system, but that system is responsible for in excess of 90% of the results that they're experiencing, both good and not so good. So if you want to change your life, you have to change the systems or the processes, or in the case of personal life, we might call them habits. You have to change those systems, or you can't create sustainable change in your life. And so this idea of, conscious systems, so consciously changing your systems so that they support you in solving your problems and in creating, the life that you really want to lead in this particular lifetime.
And it's fast. What about? I know I asked you about the dream assignment, but a dream assignment coach. Is that for? Well, I guess I'll ask you. So what I was talking about for people who are coaches can help other people. What is that?
Yeah. Well, we just completed our first DreamWork Coach Certification program, and out of that program, it was just it's the first one, and we had I think they had about 10 people that became certified coaches, and what we taught them is how to use DreamWork with clients.
Exactly.
So,
I missed that. Didn't you just have that in San Diego, right? Recently, was that?
Yeah. We did two things recently. We had an event called DreamWork Day, and we brought in a number of experts on dreams, and we live streamed it around the world, and it turned out to be it was very successful. And then we followed that with a 3-day DreamWork Coach Certification program here in San Diego. And what came out of it was 10 raving supporters of DreamWork, and they are going crazy out there right now. They're already just diving in, using DreamWork with their existing practices, and we had a couple of people that were actually new to coaching, and they're now making DreamWork sort of the centerpiece of their coaching practice. But I think we're kind of on to something. It looks like there's going to be another DreamWorks coach certification sooner than we thought.
In San Diego, maybe?
Well, I'm not sure. People are talking about, for sure there will be one in San Diego, probably toward the end of the first quarter next year or second quarter. But it also looks like we may be taking it on the road. People are trying to organize a couple of things in other parts of the country as well.
That's fantastic. I'm really happy to hear that was successful. I remember, that's how I ran into. Yeah. Well, David, why did you wait more than 20 years to introduce DreamWork to the world, to us all?
Well, I had been really busy doing other things. I mean, we were using DreamWork all the time, and we were using character types all the time. But in my consulting business, I was really more focused on the conscious systems side of things. And so, to tell you the truth, I wasn't really planning on taking DreamWork into the world in a meaningful way. And then about 4.5, going on 5 years ago, I had one of those kind of dreams that it's a very special dream that just literally screams in your ear, you need to do this. I sat straight up in bed and I got this message that said very powerfully, it's time to take DreamWork into the world. And so I actually did another dream assignment because I wasn't really happy to hear that because I knew how much work it would be. And so I did a dream assignment to confirm, and lo and behold, of course, that was confirmed. So I started working on getting all the support materials ready, and it's taken almost 5 years, but we finally made it. And so the launch for DreamWork really was these two events that we did in San Diego. But this was really kind of a mission that was sent to me from Inner Wisdom, and as I said, I really do try to the best of my ability to listen and align myself with the guidance from Inner Wisdom. So it's been quite a 5-year ride, but we're now ready to start taking it out in the world in that significant, meaningful way.
Oh, so David, are you teaching? Okay, so like we were talking about the coach, your what was it called, DreamWork. The people are real excited, like when they're using this in their own business. So are they able to be trained like how you're teaching? Then they can go out and train other people.
I would say that it's certainly feasible that people could then go out and train other people.
Right.
But to teach it, you probably need a little bit more. You probably need a little bit more practice and maybe a little bit more guidance than just to use it.
Right.
So definitely, I mean, our long-term goal is to somehow with DreamWork reach 100 million dreamers worldwide and have all of us dreaming together a new dream for the planet. And we believe that if we can reach some critical mass, we just picked 100 million as a number, but there is some critical mass, I believe, whereby when we hit that number of dreamers dreaming a new dream for the planet together, I believe that there will be a profound shift in the consciousness of humankind globally, and we will then be able to really start addressing the many issues that we are facing as a species, as humans on the planet, and of course as other species on the planet as well. So the nice thing about this dreaming together is you don't have to do anything. In other words, you don't have to write your dream down. You don't have to interpret your dreams. You have to do anything. All you have to do is just set your intent to dream this new dream. And we've just finished drafting kind of I would call it a very short, quick intent building, almost like a script that people could use to set their intent before we dream together. And I think if we hit some critical mass of people dreaming together, just like large group meditation, we'll be able to change the physical reality.
I absolutely agree. You get so much of that energy at the same time. It's going to make all the difference. Everybody, I mean, they've done things out there for everybody at one time doing this. And I love what you say. It will make a big difference. And again, that's what I think 2012, the new beginning was all about. Not the doom, but this is the new beginning that we have. I wanted to ask you, David, sometimes people, we all dream, we know that, but some people say, I don't dream because they don't remember. When you're doing this with the assignment and the intent, is it pretty well, I mean, would you pretty well say that it would be very more clear that your dreams would be more you could recall them better by having...
Yes, it's amazing what happens. We'll have people who say they haven't remembered a dream in years or even many years. And the second we start putting our attention on doing dream work, now this doesn't happen for everyone, but the vast majority of people who haven't remembered their dreams will almost immediately begin remembering their dreams, or at least enough of their dreams so that they can actually begin to do dream work. And the other thing that we have found is that if someone, tries a couple times, they set their intent to remember their dreams, they still don't remember, that sort of thing, we will actually say, all right, well, let's do a dream assignment. And, of course, that sounds counterintuitive. If you can't remember your dream, why do a dream assignment? But there's something about doing a dream assignment that really pops people into being able to remember their dreams. So, yeah, it's amazing what happens. I would say in the vast majority of the cases, once we put our attention on DreamWork, people will start remembering their dreams.
I think that's a great thing. We're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be from our sponsor, PsychicAccess.com. We'll be right back with David in just a moment.
A new era in psychic services has begun. PsychicAccess.com. You can connect with our psychic advisors by telephone or chat 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All of our psychic advisors are interviewed, fully verified, and accuracy tested, assuring you quality service. We're living in some very troubled times right now. More and more, the world's problems are affecting us on a personal level. You don't have to deal with this alone. Our highly accurate psychics, caring advisors, and talented mediums can help with situations you are currently experiencing and can let you know what the future may hold for you. All new customers get a free 6-minute reading. All you have to do is register. Why not visit us now and get a free reading at PsychicAccess.com.
And we're back with David. We're speaking with David, the new DreamWork. And I got a little lost. Oh, yes. I wanted to ask you, what really happened? We just spoke about, people, not all people, but they start remembering dreams. I'm sure their sleep must become a little bit better, too. But how do you learn to interpret these? You mentioned when we were first talking, David, about how, making the movie, you did a dream assignment with your wife, and, it all came back. You guys moved back to San Diego because you did an assignment and you wanted to do it. You did it, I think you said 2 times. But what kind of, can you give me an example? I know this couldn't pertain to everybody. For example, how do you know, do you follow me? What I'm trying to ask of you to try?
Are you asking how do you get the messages, or how do you interpret the dreams?
Yeah. Can you use an example of somebody's? You don't have to get, involve the real persons or your dream. Yes, exactly. How would Yeah,
well, the really nice thing about this methodology, as I mentioned before, is that it's systematic. And in being systematic, we can actually put the dream interpretation methodology in kind of a step-by-step format. For example, if you go onto our website, newdreamwork.com, my book is up there, which is DreamWork, Dream Interpretation, which, by the way, is a free download. And I highly recommend, if you're interested in DreamWork, start there. That's a great starting point. But there's also a thing called the Professional's Dream Assignment Guide. And the Professional's Dream Assignment Guide is a document which basically steps you through all of the steps in interpreting a dream. What parts of the mind do the symbols represent? How do you go about distilling those symbols from their surface meaning to the deeper meaning? How do you string those things together so that the theme of the dream, which is the answer to the question, begins to emerge? And then, of course, there's probably 3 or 4 other what I would call key points that you'll want to keep an eye on when you're doing this dream interpretation. But this methodology is teachable. And that's what makes it so great. When we were doing the coach certification program, the people there had not done any of this prior to being in the certification program. And within a couple of days, we had people in front of the room doing dream interpretation and watching dreamers have these monstrous ahas, about what inner wisdom wanted them to know, about whatever the issue is in their life. But the normal way it's done is we take a dream, and then we take a look at the individual symbols in the dream. Let me give you an example. Well, think of a dream scene that you might have had recently. Can you think of one?
Oh yeah, but there's usually torment. Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Well, maybe just a sentence or 2.
Okay. Sense or 2 about what I felt like, or what I saw. What do you mean by like?
Just a sentence or 2 about the dream itself. So, what was happening in the dream?
Grief and grief that was past, and grieving, and fear.
Okay, good. Now let's talk about the symbols in the dream. Were you in the dream?
Yes.
Okay. Was there anyone else in the dream?
No. Faceless
Was
people.
there?
You know what? Faceless people. You know, people that I didn't. I guess there were other people, but not with, identified.
Okay. Okay. Well, were you? If you were the, were there any other symbols that were not people in the dream?
Yeah, and this is a recurring. It's a home that I grew up in. When I was, it was torn down. So I was dreaming about this home
Okay,
that I grew
good.
up in. Mm.
So there's the you in the dream,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's his home. Any other symbols in the dream?
Large sailboats. My father used to race yacht sailor. He was a sailboat racer. So the
Okay,
boat.
good.
I see the boat. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just tell me quickly. So there's the you in the dream. You're back at this old home. There were some sailboats in the dream. What was happening?
Well, it was almost like what was happening was I was feeling it like because in reality this home was built and then later it was bought and torn down 20 years later. So what was happening is everything was starting to crumble away, like
Okay.
yeah, crumbling.
All right, good. So let me just I'll talk about the symbols of you and the symbols of the home, and then we'll just distill these symbols. It just takes a couple minutes to do that. And let's maybe get a little bit of deeper meaning about what it is that inner wisdom is trying to tell you in this dream. So we've got the you in the dream, right?
Right.
Okay. So what we're going to do, I'm going to ask you a series of questions. They're very simple questions. And what I'd like you to do is just tell me the first thing that comes to your mind, okay?
Okay.
All right. So we've got Maureen in the dream. When you think of yourself in this dream, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
A child.
Good. And what do you mean by child?
Insecure.
Good. And what do you mean by insecure?
Afraid.
Good. And what do you mean by afraid?
Alone.
Good. And what do you mean by alone?
Scared.
Good. And just a couple more. What do you mean by scared?
Lost.
Lost. Beautiful. And last question, what do you mean by lost?
Vacant.
Vacant. Okay, good. And now we're going to go to the home. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of the home?
Fantastic.
Good. And what do you mean by fantastic?
Misperception.
Misperception?
Mm-hmm.
And what do you mean by misperception?
Change.
Change. Good. And what do you mean by change?
Pain.
Pain. Good. And what do you mean by pain?
Grief.
Grief. And what do you mean by grief?
Past.
Past. And last question, what do you mean by past?
Future.
Okay, good. So, looking at these symbols in the dream, the you in the dream is a symbol of your feminine mind. Any woman that dreams of a female in a dream, her age or younger, that's a symbol of the feminine mind. And the feminine mind is the feminine part of each one of us. It's the part that feels, its emotions, its memories, it's that sort of thing. If you dream of a man in a dream that's your age or younger, that's a symbol of the masculine mind, which is the thinking mind. And the youngest part, basically the youngest part of the mind and the youngest part of the brain. Anything that's man-made is a symbol of what we call the authoritarian mind. And the authoritarian mind is the rules, regulations, and boundaries by which you run your life. So in this particular, let me give you the fourth part of the mind too, which is the spiritual mind. The spiritual mind is our connection to nature, connection to the body clock, connection to higher purpose, and also the closest part of the mind to the soul and inner wisdom. So we've got these 4 parts of the mind, and how these 4 parts of the mind communicate with each other determine what's going on in our life, in waking life. So in this particular dream, inner wisdom is addressing whatever your biggest concern is in life. And I won't ask you what that biggest concern is unless you'd like to share it with us.
Right now, you want me to answer that question? What my
sure,
biggest concern
if you're comfortable with it.
Oh, no, I'm an open book, everybody knows. My biggest concern in life is peace, peace within.
Okay, good. So is it that you have too much peace or not enough?
Not enough.
There we go.
Not, yeah.
So the concern part of it is probably that there's a lack of peace within right now, yeah?
Correct.
Okay, good. So the you in your dream is a symbol of your feminine mind, and we started off on the surface, you said child, and then that went to insecure, afraid, alone, scared, lost, vacant. And so we've got spiritual feminine mind, and this feminine mind is bounded by the part of you that is like the old home, which is a authoritarian mind. And so this is all happening in this old home. And you started off, the first thing you said about the home was fantastic. And then you said misrepresented, and then it went to change, it went to pain, grief, past, and future. So, I mean, this is obviously, a very short version of going through a dream interpretation. But you can begin to see that, you've got rules and regulations and boundaries that are like this house that are basically interacting with the part of you that is feeling lost, scared, and alone, feminine mind. And in particular, it's going to be emotions around alone, scared, lost, vacant. So remember, the feminine mind is always going to be emotions in one way or another. So you've got those emotions, and most likely those are the emotions that are the ones that are creating a condition of unpeace.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And then, but it's really circumscribed by these authoritarian mind that's like the old home, that you at first held as fantastic. But as we go deeper into it, it goes right down into pain and grief and the past. And it's funny, the change from past to future, I might even ask you about that. So how do you move from past to future in this particular case?
That's exactly, I understand I understood exactly where you just went with this. This is fascinating.
Yeah,
so
it's so cool.
It's...
And I'll tell you something, we do this, actually this happens a lot. I mean, we'll have people in front of the room, and I'll tell everybody, okay, now just watch, because if we get a little lucky in this dream, you'll see, all of a sudden, you'll see a person's consciousness expand as they go into an expanded awareness, where they see it, where they haven't seen it before, and you'll just see them, and a lot of times they'll even gasp a little bit, kind of like this, and you'll see the whole group go, oh my gosh, and this is the same type of thing. This is why DreamWork is so powerful, is because it bypasses the filters of the mind and gets right to it. And so,
yeah, you said like there's a aha moment type of thing, like you said. I can understand. This is fantastic. It's not like someone interpreting a dream of, this is the thing, you're holding on the pad, blah blah blah. I mean, this is fantastic. This is really great.
Oh, I'm really glad you like it, but this is something that inner wisdom gave us.
That's true. That's true. Very true. I'm so, like I said, I'm so glad you're in my area, because I really this is that's why when I found you, it was quite amazing, because I'd never seen anything or thought about it, doing a show of this nature. I've had dream people on, whatever, which they're great, but this is a whole different area of this, which is so authentically unique. I mean, you just
Yeah. Well, you know what's so great, Maureen, is that we had some expert dream workers that have been, it's what they do for their livelihood and that sort of thing, that took the certification program, and they were able to see how this could integrate so well in with what they were already doing. And that's what I feel is really important, is that, this is part of each and every one of us, and so naturally it's going to integrate with anything that we're doing out there in the world. And so rather than having one-on-one, competing with each other, what we do is we have one-on-one being synergistic and creating more than two.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of other people that have been as I'm sitting here, I don't even like doing this with my fingers up, and the people that do the quotation, dream interpretation. I feel that perhaps this might end up being something that, like you said, could actually go more into collectively going towards this direction, because all the books out there with their dream, the dream encyclopedias or dream diction, whatever, which are fun, but I mean that's about it. But also could scare the heck out of some people also.
Well, I did a little research into dream dictionaries. I went up to the first page of Google. I typed in dream interpretation for the search, and I took the first, 4 or 5 dream dictionaries that appeared on page 1 of Google. And I just took the word dog, and then I went into the dream dictionaries to see how they would define a dog in a dream. And they were all over the map. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that they're all over the map. What I do think is a little bit of a concern is that if someone goes up there and starts pulling out definitions of various symbols in a dream, and then somehow takes action based on that information, I do think that's not necessarily a good thing, because inner wisdom is telling us all the time what we really need to do, but only the dreamer can know that. There's no sage out there that can make it up for the dreamer. And so this idea of going, to outside of the dreamer to get the real scoop and so forth, I think has, it's a potential trap in that.
I had muted myself, and they just stepped in for me. See how we all just collectively do our thing. We only have a few minutes. Thank you, Carmen. Thank you, Stephen. We only have a few minutes left. I wanted to, I want onto your guest page. We also have your books. You're an author of several great books, or more than several, and also, but on your, I did get your bonus gift myself. So could you tell us again how people can get that?
Well, you can go to newdreamwork.com, and right there on the first page, the home page, is a place where you can download DreamWork Dream Interpretation, and it's a short little book, but it's got really everything you would need it to kind of get started and learn a little bit more about DreamWork. And then if you like what you're reading, you can go back to the website. There's all kinds of nice, good free stuff up there. We've got a character types book, and we've got dream assignment guides and all sorts of stuff. So the name of the game for us is to get this out into the world, as I said, in a significant, meaningful way, and that'll be strictly up to you as how fast or how far you want to go with it.
Well, we're going to go real far. Your guest page has under anybody listening, all this information we're talking about. Your link to the new DreamWork.com's on there. Also, this has been great, David. I really appreciate you saying yes to coming for this interview. I really appreciate it a lot, and I do look forward to meeting you, and I'm sure I will, just because I just feel that way because I had a dream. No, and I really do appreciate this work you're doing. I think it's for the good of all, for everyone.
Well, I so appreciate you having me on the show too, Maureen, because this is how it's going to get out into the world. Is we're just going to keep making connections, and we're going to keep sharing our messages and supporting each other. And I think the work that you're doing also is wonderful, and we're just Somehow we're gonna make a difference in the world. I just know it.
I agree, and like I said, I don't think the Mayans we weren't going to get off the hook that easy by just leaving and being blown off the face of the earth. That'd be too easy for us. So this is why I just love having people that we're all in this together, and there's such great new things coming about. I really appreciate it, David. So and I'm glad and happy Halloween. Yeah.
Well,
and,
thank you.
And I hope to. Well, I'm going to be keeping up with what's going on with you, and everybody else will be able to too. So have a great evening, David, and thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, my name is Res Miranda. If you're having relationship, career, or life issues, I'm inviting you to experience what it's like to have access to professional, highly accurate psychics and spiritual advisors you can trust to care and help you. Register now to get your free 6-minute reading by telephone or chat. Get answers. Get access. Psychic access. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. PsychicAccess.com.